Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is JGOD, and in today's video we're going to focus on a couple misconceptions that a lot of people have been commenting down in the comments section on a lot of my videos when I make a certain statement, when I'm breaking down a top player or one of the subscribers, or just talking about different mechanics in general. Somebody comes to the comments and say, well, it doesn't really work that way, or they're not sure, so they'll ask, well, how does that actually work? So we're going to talk about the most common ones in today's video, which includes some differences, but with perks, some counters, and then also talk about what happens when you come back from the gulag, because on the screen, it's going to show you have perks. Do you actually have them? So we're going to talk about those types of things in today's video. If you do enjoy the video in any way, please do me a favor hitting that like button. I do have a goal in today's video of about 1,500 likes. So if we can get over that number, definitely be appreciative of that. And if you're brand new, looking to find your way back for whatever reason, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on so you stay up to date on future Call of Duty content, and that'll be as easy as possible. On top of that, a lot of people are joining the community Discord. I think we're up to over 1,600 members now. A lot of people grouping up with different people, partying up instead of playing with randoms, which inevitably ends up being a very bad time if you've ever done that. If you're looking for more people to play with, I would definitely check that out. One of the first links down in the description. So we're going to breeze through some of these since they're a little bit more obvious, and then we'll kind of spend a little bit more time on the ones that I think people have the most issues with. So right here, we'll go ahead and click show more info. And right here on double time, it says double the duration of tactical sprint, increase crouch movement speed by 30%. Tactical sprint is only when your gun comes up in the air when you double tap your sprint button. For console players, L3, a lot of times on keyboard and mouse, if you haven't messed with your key binds, that's going to be double shift, or you could bind it so it has its own binding or whatever case is. But you have that when your gun comes up in the air, you're going to double that duration. So if it's normally 2 seconds, it's going to be 4. And they're going to have a little bit faster crouching speed, which isn't all that significant because the base speed of crouching is already slow. So 30% more isn't like significantly faster. EOD, it says take reduced damage from non-kill streak explosives and fire. So it's basically all the explosives you can throw, things that blow up on the map organically, which do happen, whether it's a vehicle or whatever the case is. And then also fire if someone throws a Molotov, things along those lines. On top of that, it says when picking up frag grenade, you can reset the fuse. People don't really use that in Warzone, but if you happen to be on shipment, someone throws a grenade, you can refuse it, throw it back, and it resets that timer. What you will notice here is this will not protect you from a kill streak. So if a cluster's coming in, precision airstrike, it will down you if you take damage from it. So it's just something to be aware of. Next up is cold-blooded, and I think this one's one that a lot of people have confusion and issues with. It says undetectable by AI targeting system, thermal optics, does not trigger high alert warning, and then still visible to recon drones, but cannot be marked. So what this means here is undetectable AI targeting systems. That's like a sentry system. That's more multiplayer if it kind of operated on its own. That's like a VTOL and other streaks like that. As far as the thermal optics, you'll still be able to see the player. They're just not going to be this bright, glowing white outline. You're still going to be visible even with cold-blooded. Does not trigger high alert warning. So if somebody has high alert equipped, normally when you look at them, they'd have a little bit of mark on which side of the screen you're on so they know which direction to look or which side they're being seen on. That's not going to trigger that warning. So this is a perfect counter to that particular perk if that was used very often, which it really isn't. And right here where it says still visible to recon drones but cannot be marked, what will happen is there's going to be this little white triangle that pops up on the player, and it's going to have an X through it. Just means you can't mark them. You can still ping them, so it really doesn't stop that, but it'll allow you to see people in a building if they're not running Ghost, which we'll talk about when we get to the Ghost perk. So you can still ping them, you just won't be able to mark them. And you just want to do live pings anyways, because that doesn't notify them that they've been marked, versus actually marking them. They'll know, hey, where the heck is this drone targeting us? And they'll probably try and shoot you down. So restock, it's going to double that time up to 50 seconds for your lethals and your tacticals. Throwing knives, you're able to get a third one instead of just the 2 like normal lethals. And then the decoy grenade and the stim shot come up twice as fast. So it'll end up being 12.5 seconds in multiplayer and 25 seconds within Warzone. So just something to be aware of since you're going to use those a little bit more often and maybe they don't have as much usage. Hardline, this is going to be 25% off kill streaks, field upgrades, and armor plates. Pretty straightforward. Not loadouts and not buying back your team. Overkill, carry 2 primary weapons. Straightforward. High alert, your vision pulses when enemies outside of your view see you. Triggered by enemies controlling chopper gunners, Wilsons, IAVs, APCs. So pretty much anything that spots you is pretty much going to pop up on that as long as it's player controlled, whether it's a player or a kill streak, which in Warzone, it only ends up being a player. Ghost. This one we'll talk a little bit more on. Undetectable by UAVs, radar drones, heartbeat sensors. A lot of people assume that it's cold-blooded. They're like, well, you weren't wearing cold-blooded. Of course you showed up on it. No, it doesn't work that way. Cold-blooded is almost a waste of a perk in my opinion because it's not going to help you with the #1 tool in Warzone, which is a heartbeat sensor, which directly gives away your position. I'm going to help you with the second thing, that is a UAV. So obviously you can split the perks, run them both, but typically cold blood is never going to save your life. So that's a whole nother story. Comes to Ghost, you'll still appear on kill streak radars when firing a weapon that is unsuppressed. It should have that last line in there. Fire the weapon. It does not have a monolithic suppressor, tactical suppressor, one of the other lightweight suppressors. You will pop up on the minimap. And that is regardless if you have Ghost. So if you're running Ghost with a suppressor, you're pretty much not going to pop up on the minimap. Here's the one part that confuses a lot of people. I ended up doing a full video showing that this is not the case. It says detectable by advanced UAV, but removes direction. That should be specific to multiplayer, because there's a lot of people that are under the misconception that if you call in 3 UAVs within Warzone, pops up the little triangles, which it does do that, but it will not reveal Ghost players. It just doesn't do it. So you're still going to be undetectable because those are technically 3 UAVs. An advanced UAV is a singular streak called in multiplayer only. It does not apply to Warzone. So something to keep in mind. I've had to find out the hard way when this thing first came out. Started trying it out, run around, try and chase some of those triangles down, and then you get killed by someone who's a building. Guess what? They had Ghosts, so they were still undetectable. I showed it in that video, so we'll go ahead and move on from there. Tune up. This will reduce your revive time. So if you go to revive a teammate, self-revive, cuts down 25%. One thing to keep in mind, the revive time is about 5 seconds. So this is going to shave off 1 second, which could make or break in certain scenarios. But for the most part, you're going to end up wasting this particular perk unless you just plan on going down a lot. Amped is my main go-to as far as the third perk goes. Faster weapon swap, which is huge, especially if you're trying to snipe or pull out an SMG because you're switching from long distance to short distance. Swapping to a rocket launcher without this perk is incredibly slow. This will help you with the reload. So especially if you're running RPG, this is definitely a good go-to. Also does not affect swapping to pistols or knives because those are already fast. Most equipment is used faster. So if you're going to throw something, it's just going to throw faster. It's just kind of how it works. So it's pretty straightforward there. So in multiplayer, this helps out a bunch because you end up with, instead of having only 1 lethal, you get bumped up to 2. This one, what will end up happening is you'll spawn in with 2 lethals instead of having just the 1 when you go to your loadout, but it's not going to allow you to help hold a third, so that's not really beneficial in my opinion. The part that really helps with this one is the regeneration delay. So if you throw a C4, you cause that damage, it's going to take longer for them to heal, so you have a greater chance of challenging them before they can actually come up back to 100 health. Battle hardened, reduce the strength of enemy flash, stun, EMP, gas effect, immune to snapshot grenades. So the snapshot grenades aren't really used very often, but when it comes to the flash, stuns, EMP, it's not really helping out a ton in this case. The one that this one really helps out with is a gas effect. So unless you're running a gas effect often, I would say battle hardened isn't really a huge help. I know a lot of times you can use them with stuns, but still you still get stunned for a long period of time. Not quite as long, but still a long period of time. So most of the time, Battle Hardened isn't all that great of a perk. Spotter. This one confused a lot of people too, even though it's pretty straightforward. It says see enemy equipment, field upgrades. You can see pretty much all the lethal stuff, trophy system. And right here it says advanced UAVs cannot be marked. A lot of people took that as if you're using this equipment, that's why you're not popping up in Warzone because you're using Spotter. But no, that's not exactly how this works. What happens is when someone calls in a UAV in multiplayer, that person could just look up, they end up marking it. They see a vehicle, they mark it. They see any kind of other streak, they mark it. Advanced UAV is above the sight line, cannot be seen, is not visible. So you cannot look up and go, there's the advanced UAV, let's try to shoot it down. This is saying that that's not possible to do. When it comes to Warzone, you can't even see the UAVs anyways, so there's nothing to mark. So this is not useful if you're trying to stay off the advanced UAV in Warzone. And then tracker, it says enemies leave behind a footprint trail. Pretty straightforward. You see the footprint trail as people move. See markers at enemy death locations. That could actually be pretty helpful when somebody dies in a gunfight. You end up getting them marked. That's helpful. And then death markers of enemies you kill. So what happens is normally when you kill someone, they might see where their teammate died. If you do this, they're not going to actually see that physical location. But anyone that's playing in a general team, they usually have kind of marked where you're at. So I don't see this one all that helpful. Sometimes in solos, if someone runs into a room, you kind of have an idea where they're at. It could be helpful, but that is how the individual perks work. So now let's talk about what happens once you get your loadout. You end up dying, go to the gulag, you get bought back or you win the gulag or whatever the case is, and it says you have those perks. So right here, I end up having my perks. You can see I have restock. I just let my teammate let me die here so that I could actually prove this concept. And what you're going to notice is when my teammate buys me back, it says that I have double time, overkill, and battle hardened, which is definitely not the case. I end up getting a loadout. These are just random perks that I didn't have. We're going to see the next gameplay where it shows the actual perks I had so I can actually prove that those are not the case. case. So right here, I'm about to get bought back, and we're going to take a look at the perks so you can see exactly what those are. I'm going to go ahead and pause it once we get there. Clear as day, we have EOD, restock, and amped. So what we're going to do is come down. So we'll go ahead and skim down so you can see it in action. I was looking for a tactical. I didn't see anything. I was looking for any kind of lethal just so I could pick it up because it's going to be proof of concept. Even if you pick up a heartbeat sensor, it still shows that it's regenerating, even though it's not going to regenerate. You just get one that lasts forever. So I'm still looking around, trying to loot. For whatever reason, the building didn't have one. Normally, 9 times out of 10, there's almost always a grenade, a flash, a heartbeat sensor somewhere around. So I go around looting, end up pushing to the building, end up looking still, and when I get over here, and I kind of let this together so it doesn't look like I'm just chopping random clips together. You guys saw me come out of the sky. I sped it up. You see me pick up the grenade. It is not regenerating to 2. Also, when I swap weapons, it's not faster from amped. So I'm not getting that benefit. And that's something you guys got to be aware of. I got so many comments. Well, it says I have perks. I have ghosts. How am I popping up? I have cold-blooded. What's going on? How come they can see me? It's not working properly. Do I have the perks? This is pretty definitive to me. I knew it beforehand. I knew it was kind of just for a visual glitch. So hopefully you guys learned something in today's video. If you did, please remember to hit that like button. If you're brand new, looking to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, definitely make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Should be live streaming on Twitch, so make sure you go ahead and hit that follow button. Again, down in the description. If you want to join the community, try to find other people to play with because you're tired of playing solo, definitely go check out the Discord. A lot of people have been partying up, telling me about their positive experiences instead of just actually playing with randoms, which is a huge benefit for the community. Appreciate all the support on the channel. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
No.